Oh, hello there. You're here with Brothers Forge Gaming. Welcome to another episode of Masterpiece Collection Theater. Today we have an extra special treat for you. Now this is a collection that has been a long time in the making. I'm finally excited to be able to bring what I have and what I finally got. Over the years I've been collecting games and different things because it's really hard to find the system. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce to you my 3DO collection. Boom! Oh yeah! So I was able to finally get one in box. Now if you can see there the model FZ10, there is a lot of debate on some of these different models. The original ones that came out, I'm not sure the model number of those, but the FZ10 is the one out of the research I have done that is the model to get for longevity. I believe it was the later model released. Now there are some different things with it, like they started to integrate some of the chips and do some different things that if you look into, some people say is better, some people say is worse. Now there's a manufacture date, I want to say after October, was it 95? I'm not 100% on that. But anything made after that is no longer region free. It won't play burn discs, little minor minuscule things like that if you're really into getting the right system, this is one you got to look into before you buy it. But I was able to find it in box. I was able to find a good price on it. So you know what? I just snapped it up and I kind of learned some of this stuff after the fact. Now, like I said, if you were kind of going after the original model, there's one that looks more like a square, kind of like brick, versus the like longer one, the newer one. And then you kind of got this, and this is what it kind of turns into. So what's nice about this is the push button top versus the ejecting CD, the ejecting CD tray that comes out. Those in the early models, especially early stuff like this, the fail rate on those is so high. So the push button open top instead of the eject tray is sometimes for longevity purposes the way to go. Here's what the controller looks like. Now some of these, and also I think the early models don't have onboard RCA, and you can just run an RCA cable with this thing, which is cool. So it does come with the coaxial hookup, but you can't just run a regular 3-color cable. So that's another nice feature about this one. And then it comes with just your standard power cord. So many uses for these things. I think they work for multiple different systems. Some of them might have different heads on them, but I mean, you can find those pretty easy. I think this is like a common power cord. So realistically, the deck on this thing, if you're able to just find the deck, the control pads are kind of hard to get. So if you see one, grab it, and then maybe down the road you'll find a deck, and you can piece these things together. But to my point earlier, the original model of 3DO that came out, I have read that it has a very high fail rate. But if you do go with that one, you are getting the original. You're getting that, that original hardware that it came out with, the original onboard software, the ability to play region, burnt disc, things like that, that you might not get in some of the later models. So whatever way you can play 3DO, whatever way you can find it, definitely pick it up. The games are kind of rare. They're rather pricey if you want to be getting a complete in box. The long, they come in those long paper boxes, so as you know, those get shredded over the years. But yeah, I mean, it's a totally fun system to collect for. I was blown away. I grew up with Sega CD. I was aware of 3DO, but it was on the higher end up there with the Philips CDI. So it was just kind of one of those things you saw, but you didn't get to have, due to the rarity and just the kind of like the higher price tag. So, we grew up with the Sega CD, which is great. But it's also cool to be going back and playing 3DO for the first time. If you're an adult gamer out there and you're just getting into gaming and you thought, hey, why not pick up the hobby? It's fun to collect for. You can also play it. Unlike baseball cards where, it's cool to collect, it's fun to get them all, get the different sets, do all that. But realistically, at the end of the day, that's all they are is cards. You can't really interact with them unless you and your buddies come up with some kind of cool game you can play with them. But yeah, that's what makes collecting gaming so unique. They're fun to collect, the artwork, you can actually play them and, beat them in high scores and do different stuff. Set up a totally cool game room. Game collecting is basically the epitome of all collecting, toys, hobbies, all that stuff. It just kind of melds it all together into one nice package. Like I said, if you're an adult gamer looking into getting, where do I start? What do I start my collection with? Maybe you've only played like newer gen stuff, you don't have any old stuff. The 3DO, if you've got a little bit of extra money, is a great place to start. The games are a little bit more adult themed. I actually think 3DO was the first system to come out, obviously besides probably PC, to come out with like an actual like NC-17 game that was pretty risky. I don't remember the title of that, but I'm pretty sure 3DO was like the first system to do that. And they have a lot of mature rated games, and this is kind of about that time where the rating system was coming out. So in its infancy, you're going to get some pretty brutal stuff. It plays so much like 90s PC gaming, which was some of the best times I've ever had gaming. You've got your Wolfensteins, your Doom, all that stuff that was coming out, Seventh Guest, all those fun kind of like Phantasmagoria style games. Man, it was good. So this brings you to that era in gaming. Now, all that being said, I didn't show you this side because it has that cool Gex sticker on it. This particular model came with Gex, and I actually got the game. Okay, well, all that being said, let's take a look at some of these games. So as I just mentioned, Gex, it came with that box, so that was pretty cool. Oh, I actually think it's in my 3DO. Whoops, and I was like shaking that thing around. I found this randomly loose somewhere. I didn't even know it was a 3DO game, I just grabbed it. So we got Last Bounty Hunter. Not really too sure what kind of game it is, but you're a bounty hunter equipped with a 6-shooter and sometimes a shotgun. So that's all I need to know. Maybe it's kind of like a Lethal Enforcers kind of game. Mad Dog McCree. One game I was super excited about getting is Dragon Lore on the 3DO. I don't have the box for it, but I do have kind of like a pseudo-loose. There's 3 discs to this thing, plus this manual. It's really cool. We'll take a look at, just real quick, what you get in these old... Oh my goodness, what is this? What is this, people? Hidden treasure. Oh my gosh, it is the original receipt. Take a look at that. Printed like on, I don't even know, not even lined paper. I don't know what this is, if this paper is this colored from the years. So let's see here. In April 17th of 1996 at 5:40 at Register A at G&G Home Video Games in the Hillside Mall in San Mateo, California. This game was purchased for $34.99. That's pretty cool. So that's always neat when you find that. So I didn't know that was in there, but yeah, check it out. I mean, just this is the kind of cool stuff you get. I've shown this in manuals before. You get that original D&D Advanced Dungeons and Dragons style art. Oh my gosh, that is just like my favorite kind of art to get. So yeah, that's kind of it for my loose games. 3DO is one of those systems that I try to collect complete in box for, but obviously you're going to take what you're going to get. These complete in box games get rather pricey. So there's no particular order to this. I'm just going to start out with it. We're on a theme. Let's go with more D&D. I'm not going to open these up. Some of these are for varying completeness. There's different things inside, like cardboard, kind of like similar to Super Nintendo, that holds the games and the manuals and stuff in there. There's posters, manuals, whatever comes in there. Like I said, this is varying degrees. So this is Death Keep. I am super excited to get into this, a D&D game. I don't know if you can see those skeletons, those baddies on there. Man, that looks good. How the heck am I going to set this stuff? Gotta be careful with those boxes. I want to look into getting some box protectors for these. This is a classic right here. Shoot. I thought I had the first one. I'm going to have to go back and see. I'm pretty sure the place I got this still has the first one loose in disc. But here we go. Alone in the Dark 2 on 3DO. And this kind of is what I was talking to you about, where you get that early PC, just so good. Some of the best times in gaming, if you ask me, was right there. We'll go with an interesting title here. So on here it says guidance for 17 and under. So this is kind of before the rating system was a thing. So this is essentially a mature game. Beode! And if you check it out on the back, not sure if you can see that. A lot of these early games, Doom clones. So that should be an interesting one to get in there. Get in there to play to see what it plays like. And it says right on the back, don't just get mad, get PO'd! And it supports the Flight Stick Pro, which is very cool for shooters back then, is that Flight Stick. So I need to maybe get one of those. This I'm actually very interested in. Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the Super Nintendo is one of my favorite games. And as you can see here, it supports this kind of like weird control stick thing. I don't have that, so maybe I'll find it. But yeah, as you can see here, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Now this one has Evil Bison. It's got your classic characters, 4 new challengers. It looks a lot like Third Strike, graphics and things like that. I think it was Street Fighter 2 Turbo Championship Edition, the one that came out right before Street Fighter 3. Looks very similar to that, so I actually am very interested to see how that plays. I'll let you guys know when I get into that one. And again, look for these games to be coming out. We have such a big backlog that I do want to get to some of these games in the near future. So stick around, guys. Keep tuning in to Brothers Forge Gaming. We got a ton of stuff we want to bring you. It's just, where do you start, you know? Now, let's go with this one. This was a gift to me from Easy. Thank you very much, my friend. Road Rash! Grew up playing this on the Sega Genesis. Sega CD one is pretty cool too, so I'm very interested to see how this plays. And if you look on the back, okay, what does it say? 14 songs from 6 A&M bands. I think this has like Soundgarden, let me see. Yeah, Soundgarden, Paw, Screwdriver, Therapy, Monster Magnet, and Hammerbox. So if you grew up in the 90s, you're familiar with some of those bands. But yeah, check that out, man. This thing's so cool. I cannot wait to play this. Okay, why don't we just bust into this right now, right here. Okay. Now, this one I bought just solely because of who's on the front. Mr. Left Behind himself, Mr. Growing Pains, Mr. Seaver, Kirk Cameron, baby, check that out. Woo! You can't really see the back of this one, but there is some really, well, I put these cardboard in just to kind of protect it a little better. Let's see here. But yeah, on the back it shows him in like some, if you guys, Philips CDI put out like a live action Zelda and Mario kind of game that looks so cheesy just like that. I cannot wait to play that. I believe this game's available on the Saturn as well. So check it out if you want to get it on there. I don't know if Kirk Cameron is, I'm assuming he'd be in that one, so I don't know what the differences there is, but if you look at the Sega Saturn box, it doesn't feature him, so who knows, you know. Oh, we're not going to get into that one yet. Alright, well this one is probably my favorite in the collection. I have no other way to play this game originally. There was a port to the Super Nintendo, but you know, they removed all the cool stuff that makes it what it is. So right here, I think this is kind of the only way to realistically play this game just like it was on the PC back in '93. Wolfenstein 3D, baby. Oh my goodness, check this out. We've got ID Software. Interplay, this is where it all started, people. This and Doom, some of the original. Some say this launched the FPS, the third person, the shooter genre. These games right here. Without these games, you guys would not have all your favorite shooting games today. Here's another one I'm very interested in, and again, I have the cardboard on the back. I'm not going to take these out of here, just kind of pain in the butt, and there's so much stuff. But if you see on the front, it says starring Dennis Hopper, Stephanie Seymour, Grace Jones, and Jeffrey Holder. Again, 17 and under, not recommended. Take-Two Interactive, they actually have put out a lot of cool games, so I'm very excited in this. And of course, it's a cyberpunk thriller, Hell! So this thing looks like it's going to be pretty awesome just based on that cover. Now, I have not played any of these games except for Gex to test my system is what it came with. Like I said, I just got the system recently. I actually balked on it at Portland PRGE 2018. I found one, but it wasn't the right model like I talked about. This thing was clean, it was in box, it was amazing. I probably should have bought it, but I didn't. So I've always kind of regretted that. I may always regret that for the rest of my life. I don't know. But anyway, so like I said, when I wanted these games to be fresh, I'm going to do these like first plays. However I'm going to bring these to you guys, it's going to be awesome. So like I said, stick around, make sure to come on back, check us back to see gameplay on this stuff. Now, this one looks really cool. Another 17 and under, not recommended, or guidance, as it says. Killing Time. Booyah. Now, what looks cool about this is if some of the games I mentioned earlier, you know, a lot of stuff in this era was Doom clones. But there was also games like Seventh Guest and Alone in the Dark, stuff like I was telling you about, Phantasmagoria. If you can see that, man, this looks cool. So it looks like it's blending those genres, which is insane because you think that would be just like the coolest game ever, right? And I'm pretty sure it's gonna be. So yeah, like I said, look forward to that. I mean, that thing just looks awesome. Okay, I believe that is everything except for one. Now, this is the game that if you look it up, it says, if you're gonna get a 3DO, there's one game that defines the platform, that defines the entire experience you must play out of all of these games. I'm gonna assume it's an exclusive, Now, originally why I didn't get this game is because kind of like I mentioned with the rating system, the reason I wanted to get into 3DO and stuff is because it had a lot more like adult-themed games. That's actually something you see in gaming now too, and it kind of makes you feel out of place, or at least makes me feel out of place in gaming, is a lot of the games, they really seem geared toward a younger crowd. So, you know, I don't know if you're supposed to hang it up after a certain amount of years and I just refuse, or what. Because even these games, they get more violent, right? But they don't get like themed wise, like content, you know, that kind of thing. They don't really seem to have like an adult feel to them. That was kind of like what detracted me or detoured me from wanting to pick up this game, because it is kids to adults, so it does, and it has that rating system, the new rating system on it. Virgin Interactive, very cool. But right here we have Lost Eden. I don't know if you can see that. So like I said, this is the game that is supposed to define the 3DO experience. If you can check it out, it looks kind of like Wing Commander, but also like fantasy settings. So I mean, Wing Commander was one of those games I always wanted to get into, but it's just so tough and sci-fi, and then you got to try to like figure out how to fly the ship and do all this crazy stuff that they want you to do in Wing Commander. But the FMV in those games are just incredible. Well, all right, yeah, that's all I have for now on 3DO. Like I said, look forward to seeing some of these games come to life on your screen here on Brothers Forge Gaming in the future. We have a lot to get through before we can get to these games, but like I said, if you have a request, anything like that, put it in the comments. Did you grow up with a 3DO? What's your experience with it? What's your favorite game? Is there a game you could recommend that I get immediately that I don't have here for my 3DO collection? And I'm talking kind of like platform exclusive or specific, or even games that maybe where you have to play them on the 3DO. That kind of thing. If you have any suggestions like that, let me know. I can look into it. Like I said, these games are pretty rare, almost impossible to see in the wild. You have to order them. They're pretty expensive. So I don't generally collect for these. I just happen to get an awesome deal. And like I said, look forward to seeing some of the gameplay on these. Stick around, come on back, check us back. We're Brothers Forge Gaming. Thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you next time.